Alright, welcome to the overview video for UFC 318. The main event is between Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier, who is having his retirement fight for the BMF title. In this video, we will go over all the picks and method of victory predictions that have been made for each fight on this card by the prediction channels on YouTube, and find out where the odds makers and the predictors disagree, and maybe find some juicy, profitable betting opportunities. So let's get started with the first fight of the night, which is in the women's flyweight division between Carli Judice and Nicolle Caliari. Judice is the big favorite with minus 335 in average odds, and Caliari the underdog with plus 260. Judice is also a pretty big favorite in picks by the Tapology Community with 74%, and almost all of them expect that this fight will go to the scorecards. But Judice is a much bigger favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 70 out of 80 predict that she will win this fight for 87.5%. And all of the best predictors and the best predictors on favorites and underdogs also predict that she will win this fight. For a quick recap, the channels highlighted in green are the best predictors over the last 6 months. Dark green means a return on investment of 5% or more, and light green 5% or less. The best favorite predictors had the highest return on investment with their picks on favorite fighters in odds only, and the best underdog predictors had the highest return on investment with their picks on underdogs. For more information, check out the 6 months results video, which is linked in the video description or at the end of this video. With that out of the way, by which method of victory did every channel predict this fight to end? A total of 52 channels made a method of victory prediction on this fight. And out of those, 4 channels picked Carli Judice to win via KO/TKO. 2 of them have Caliari winning via submission, but almost all channels go with the decision win for Carli Judice, with 43 out of 52 for almost 83%. And the odds makers agree, because a decision win for Carli Judice is only minus 112 in average odds. But that's much better than the moneyline odds of minus 335. The next fight on the early prelims is between Brunno Ferreira and Jackson McVey in the middleweight division. With minus 610 in average odds, Brunno Ferreira is one of the biggest favorites on this card, and McVey the big underdog with plus 435. Ferreira is also a very big favorite in picks by the Tapology Community with 90%, and almost all of them predict he will win via KO or TKO. We see the same in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. Ferreira is again the big favorite. 72 out of 81 channels predict he will win the fight for 89%. Ferreira is picked 100% by the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors. So almost everyone predicts that Brunno Ferreira wins this fight. But by which method of victory? Well, 46 out of 53 channels predict that Brunno Ferreira wins this fight by a KO or TKO. 3 channels have McVey winning by KO or TKO, and 2 channels have picked each fighter to win by a submission. And also the bookies expect Brunno Ferreira to win by a KO/TKO, which gives you minus 140 in odds, which is a much better price than the minus 610 odds for the money line. Up next we have Ryan Spann versus Lukasz Brzeski in the heavyweight division. Ryan Spann is the favorite with minus 235 in average odds, and with plus 185 Lukasz Brzeski the underdog. Although Ryan Spann is not such a big favorite in average odds, he is a big favorite in picks by the Tapology Community with 88%, and most expect him to win via KO/TKO. But he's even a bigger favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 73 out of 79 for almost 93% pick Ryan Spann to win. And again, just like the first 2 fights, the favorite is picked by the best predictors and the best favorite and best underdog predictors 100%. 49 channels made a method of victory prediction for this fight, and 36 of them picked Ryan Spann to win by a KO or TKO for 73.5%. And only 1 channel picked Brzeski by KO/TKO. 10 channels picked Spann by submission and 2 by decision. And the odds makers agree, they mostly see Spann winning via KO/TKO for plus 155 or by a submission for plus 245. So those odds are reasonable close, but the prediction channels mostly see Ryan Spann winning by a KO or TKO. Then we go to the lightweight division for a fight between Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. Jimmy Crute is a pretty big favorite with minus 315, and Marcin Prachnio has plus 245. Crute is also a pretty big favorite in picks by the Tapology Community with 82%, and most are predicting he will win via decision. Jimmy Crute is even a bigger favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels with 71 out of 80 for 89%, and 5 out of 6 of the best predictors go with Jimmy Crute. The best predictors on favorite fighters have it 5 out of 5 for Jimmy Crute, and the best underdog predictors pick the underdog Marcin Prachnio 1 out of 6. For method of victory predictions, 5 out of 48 go with Jimmy Crute by KO or TKO, 26 predict a submission win for Jimmy Crute, so more than half, and 15 channels predict a decision win for Crute, and 2 of them predict a decision win for Prachnio. And it looks like the odds makers and the prediction channels are in line. The last fight of the early prelims is in the welterweight division between Adam Fugitt and Islam Dulatov. And with minus 615 in average odds, Islam Dulatov is the biggest favorite on this card, and Fugitt the big underdog with plus 435. Islam Dulatov is also the biggest favorite in picks by the Tapology Community with 96%, and almost all of them predict that he will win this fight by a KO or TKO. And he's even a slightly bigger favorite in picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels. 79 out of 81 for 97.5% pick him to win. And only 2 channels, Baby Sharp MMA and Raybox from Bros Talk MMA, go with Adam Fugitt. When we look at the picks from the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors, again they all go with the big favorite in Islam Dulatov. For method of victory, 49 out of 55 go with the KO/TKO win for Dulatov. 4 out of 55 submission win for Dulatov, 1 decision win for Dulatov, and only 1 channel picked Fugitt via decision. And the odds makers agree with the predictors. But one thing to notice is that the minus 160 odds for a KO/TKO win are much better than the moneyline odds of minus 615. If you enjoy the content and find it helpful or informative, then don't forget to like this video or subscribe. Thank you so much. Opening up the prelims, we have a fight in the middleweight division between Ateba, Gautier and Robert Valentin. And here we have another big favorite on this card in Ateba Gautier with minus 540 in average odds. And with plus 395, Robert Valentin is the big underdog. Gautier is also the big favorite in picks by the Tapology Community with 93%, and almost all of them predict he will win this fight via KO or TKO. And he's even a bigger favorite in picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels with 78 out of 81 for over 96%. All of the best predictors, 6 out of 6, go with Gautier, and the best predictors on favorite fighters have it 4 out of 5. And the underdog, Robert Valentin, is picked by the best underdog predictors, 0 out of 6. For method of victory, almost all channels, 53 out of 57, go with Gautier to win by KO or TKO for 93%. And with odds of minus 255 for a Gautier KO/TKO win, the odds makers agree. 2 channels pick Robert Valentin to win by a submission, and 2 channels pick Gautier to win via decision. The next one is in the welterweight division between Francisco Prado and Nikolay Veretennikov. And we finally have a fight that's pretty close in odds. Francisco Prado is the slight favorite with minus 115 average odds, and Veretennikov the underdog with plus 120. Although Francisco Prado is the slight favorite, he is a big favorite in picks by the Tapology Community with 87%, and most are predicting he will win via decision. And also, the prediction channels on YouTube heavily favor Francisco Prado with 66 out of 80 for 82%. Also, most of the best predictors, 5 out of 6, go with Prado, and 4 out of 5 of the best predictors on favorite fighters. And the underdog, Nikolay Veretennikov, is picked by the best underdog predictors, 0 out of 6, so they have no faith in this underdog. For method of victory, around 1/3 of the channels pick Francisco Prado to win by a KO/TKO, 2 have him winning via submission, but most of the channels, 24 out of 53, have Francisco Prado winning via decision. And 10 out of 53 channels have Nikolay Veretennikov winning via decision. And the odds makers agree that this fight will most likely go to a decision. But with plus 180 odds for Prado and plus 245 odds for Veretennikov, the decision odds for both fighters are pretty close. But in picks for the decision win, Prado is picked much more with 24 than Veretennikov with only 10. Up next, we go to the middleweight division for a fight between Marvin Vettori and Brendan Allen. And just like the previous fight, this fight is pretty close in odds. Brendan Allen is the favorite with minus 210 in average odds, and Marvin Vettori the underdog with plus 170. Brendan Allen is a pretty big favorite in picks by the Tapology Community with 79%, and most are expecting he will win this fight via decision. In picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels, Brendan Allen is not such a big favorite, and he's picked by 56 out of 82 channels, so still a pretty decent favorite with 68%. The best predictors over the last 6 months have it 5 out of 6 for Brendan Allen, the best predictors on favorite fighters have it 4 out of 5 for Allen, And the underdog Marvin Vettori is picked by the best underdog predictors 1 out of 6. For method of victory predictions, no fighter is picked by a KO or TKO win. Brendan Allen is picked by 4 channels to win via submission, and the rest of them are expecting that this fight will go to the scorecards, with 18 out of 59 going for a Vettori decision win, and 37 out of 59, so more than double, going for a Brendan Allen decision win. And the odds makers expect the same outcome, with plus 235 for a decision Vettori win and plus 100 Allen decision win. The future prelim fight is in the bantamweight division between Kyler Phillips and Vinicius Oliveira. And this is the third fight in a row where the odds are pretty close again. Vinicius Oliveira is the slight favorite with minus 155, and with plus 125, Kyler Phillips the underdog. Although Oliveira is a small favorite in average odds, he is a huge favorite in picks by the Tapology community with 94%. Most are predicting he will win this fight via decision. Also in picks by the YouTube prediction channels, Vinicius Oliveira is a huge favorite. 76 out of 82 channels for 93% predict that he will win. So, according to the Tapology community and the YouTube prediction channels, Vinicius Oliveira should be a much bigger favorite in average odds. 5 out of 6 of the best predictors also pick Vinicius Oliveira. The best predictors on favorite fighters have it 4 out of 5. And the best underdog predictors have picked the underdog Kyler Phillips 0 times. So what are the odds makers missing, or what are the Tapology community and the YouTube predictors missing? Because this is a very big difference. In method of victory predictions, 17 out of 53 channels go with a KO TKO for Oliveira, 0 channels have a submission win for either fighter, and most of them, 33 out of 53, go with the decision win for Oliveira. And 3 channels have picked Phillips to win via decision. And we see the odds makers mostly agreeing, except for one thing. Besides the moneyline odds, of course, they have Kyler Phillips winning by a decision with plus 230 odds, meaning that the bookmakers think that's the second most likely outcome for this fight. But that method of victory is only picked by 3 channels. So again, what are the odds makers missing, or what are the prediction channels missing? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Opening up the main card, we have a fight in the lightweight division between Michael Johnson and Daniel Zellhuber. With minus 585, Daniel Zellhuber is a huge favorite over Michael Johnson with plus 415. Zellhuber is a huge favorite, but he's only picked 88% by the Tapology community. And I say only because if you compare it with the previous fight, Vinicius Oliveira was picked 94%, who was a much smaller favorite with minus 155. More than half of them predict Zellhuber to win this fight by a KO or TKO, and the rest mostly via decision. In picks by the YouTube prediction channels, Daniel Zellhuber is a huge favorite with 81 out of 85 for more than 95%. The best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors all pick Daniel Zellhuber. For method of victory, we have 21 out of 54 channels predict a Zellhuber win by KO TKO, and 2 out of 54 a KO TKO win for Johnson. 4 channels predict a submission win for Zellhuber, and for decision win we have 2 for Johnson, but most of the predictions are for a decision win for Daniel Zellhuber with 25 out of 54 for 46%. When we compare that with the odds, it looks the same overall. The only thing I noticed is that KO or TKO win and a decision win both have plus 160 in average odds, but the predictors slightly lean to a decision win with 25 versus 21 for a KO TKO win. Want to support the channel and unlock some extra perks? Consider becoming a member on Buy Me a Coffee or a supporter on Patreon. There you will get daily updates after this video went live with the latest picks and method of victory predictions for this upcoming card. I would appreciate your support a lot and will be very grateful. So thank you so much for considering. Links can be found in the video description. The next fight on the main card is in the featherweight division between Dan Ige and Patricio Pitbull. Dan Ige is the favorite with minus 215 and Patricio Pitbull the underdog with plus 175. 79% of the Tapology community have picked Dan Ige to win, and most are predicting via a decision. He's even a bigger favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels with 80 out of 90 picking him to win for 89%. The best predictors over the last 6 months go with Dan Ige 5 out of 6, the best favorite predictors 4 out of 5, and the best underdog predictors pick the underdog Patricio Pitbull 0 times. So Dan Ige is the big favorite overall in picks, but he's not such a big favorite in odds. For method of victory predictions, we have 13 out of 56 channels picking Dan Ige to win by a KO or TKO. 0 channels picked either fighter to win via submission, and most of the channels, 36 out of 56, picked Dan Ige to win via decision, and Pitbull 7 out of 56 via decision. In terms of method of victory odds, the odds makers mostly agree, except for the decision win for Patricio Bulldog with plus 245, which is only picked by 7 channels compared to a KO TKO win for Dan Ige 13 times with better odds of plus 290. And also, Dan Ige by decision gives you plus 113 in odds, but is predicted 5 times more than a decision win for Patricio Pitbull. Up next, we have a fight in the welterweight division between Kevin Holland and Daniel Rodriguez. And in average odds, Kevin Holland is a huge favorite with minus 515, and with plus 380, Daniel Rodriguez, the big underdog. With 96%, almost everyone on Tapology Community have picked Kevin Holland to win this fight. Around half of them are predicting he will win by a submission, and after that by KO TKO or a decision. So a little bit of everything. In picks by the prediction channels on YouTube, Kevin Holland is the biggest favorite on this card. 90 out of 91 pick him to win for 99%. And only one predictor, guaranteed from Bros Talk MMA, went with Daniel Rodriguez. And all of the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors go with Kevin Holland. So basically everyone predicts Kevin Holland to win. The question is now, by which method? Kevin Holland by KO or TKO is predicted by 16 out of 58 channels for 27%. A submission win for Kevin Holland is predicted by 32 out of 58 for 55%, and a decision win by 9 out of 58. And one channel, a decision win for Daniel Rodriguez. The odds makers, however, have it a little bit different with the outcome of the fight. They think the most likely outcome is a KO TKO with plus 180 for Kevin Holland, then a decision win for plus 220, and after that a submission win with plus 260. But the predictors think the most likely outcome is a submission win for Kevin Holland with 55%. So what are the odds makers missing, or the predictors? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. For the co-main event of the evening, we have a fight in the middleweight division between Paulo Costa and Roman Kopylov. The favorite is Roman Kopylov with minus 240 and Paulo Costa, the underdog, with plus 195. In picks by the Tapology Community, Roman Kopylov is the big favorite with 80%, and most are predicting he will win this fight via decision. And we see the same results in picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels. 75 out of 91 channels for 82% pick Roman Kopylov. The best predictors over the last 6 months have it 6 out of 6 for Roman, and the best predictors on favorite fighters 5 out of 5. The underdog Paulo Costa is picked by the best underdog predictors only 1 out of 6. For method of victory predictions, we have 15 channels out of 58 predicting a KO or TKO win for Kopylov. 0 channels have picked any fighter for a submission win. For a decision victory, we have 10 channels picking Costa, and 33 channels have picked Kopylov by decision for 57%. And we see the same results in odds for method of victories. And then, for the main event of the evening, we have a fight in the lightweight division between Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier for the BMF title, which will also be Dustin's retirement fight. And this fight is the closest in odds on this card. With minus 135 in average odds, Max Holloway is the slight favorite and Dustin Poirier the small underdog with plus 111. And it's also pretty close in picks by the Tapology Community. 59% go with Holloway and 41% for Poirier. But no matter who wins, most of them predict that this fight will go to a decision. In picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels, it's even closer. Max Holloway is the slight favorite with 51 out of 91 for 56%. And 40 channels pick Dustin Poirier to win for 44%. But we see a different result when we look at the best predictors over the last 6 months. They have it 5 out of 6 for Max Holloway. And the best favorite predictors pick the small favorite Max Holloway 5 out of 5. And the small underdog Dustin Poirier is picked by the best underdog predictors 2 out of 6. For method of victory predictions, we have 6 channels out of 58 picking Max Holloway to win by a KO or TKO, and 4 for a Dustin Poirier KO TKO. 3 channels have a submission win for Poirier, but most channels predict that this fight will go to the scorecards. 25 out of 58 have a decision win for Holloway, and 20 out of 58 for Poirier. When we look at the method of victory odds, we see a few interesting things. The odds makers and the predictors agree that the most likely outcome is a decision win for Max Holloway. But the next most likely outcome in odds is a KO TKO win by Poirier with plus 310. But here the predictors disagree, because only 4 out of 58 channels go with the Poirier KO TKO win. And the predictors think that the second most likely outcome is a decision win for Dustin Poirier, which gives you really good odds of plus 340. So, who do you all have winning in this very close matchup and by which method of victory? Let us know in the comments below. What are some potential good betting opportunities on this card? For the first one, I have Ryan Spann, who is the favorite with minus 235, but he is a huge favorite in picks overall and is even picked 100% by the best predictors and the best predictors on favorites and underdogs. And when we look at the odds for a knockout win, it's plus 155, which is picked by 36 out of 49 channels for almost 75%, which gives you a much better price than the minus 235 moneyline odds. The next one is Francisco Prado, and I must say, this feels a little bit trappy. He is the slight favorite with minus 150, but he is a huge favorite in picks overall and is picked by the best predictors 5 out of 6, the best favorite predictors 4 out of 5 and the best underdog predictors 6 out of 6. For method of victory, we have odds of plus 180 for a decision, which is picked by 24 channels, and plus 335 for a KO TKO win, which is picked by 17 channels, which is much better than the minus 150 moneyline odds. And then, for the last best betting opportunity, which also feels pretty trappy, we have Vinicius Oliveira. He is the slight favorite with minus 155. He is a huge favorite in picks overall and by the best predictors 5 out of 6 and the best favorite predictors 4 out of 6 and 6 out of 6 by the best underdog predictors. And for method of victory, we have plus 160 for a decision win and plus 290 for a KO or TKO win, which gives you a much better payout than the minus 155 moneyline odds. But again, these last 2 best betting opportunities feels kinda fishy. Hope you enjoyed this overview of all the fight picks. If you found it helpful, drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to support the channel while getting exclusive updates, consider becoming a Patreon supporter or a member on Buy Me a Coffee. Thank you so much for watching, have an awesome weekend, enjoy the fights, and I will see you in the next video.